Today I'm going to review Bravo Air Race, released for the PlayStation 1. This game was originally released in Japan in early '97 and it was called Recipro Heat 5000. In Japan, it was published by Zeng Entertainment and developed by Metro of Buster Groove fame. Then the Western publishing rights to the game were picked up in mid-'97 by THQ, who apparently went bankrupt just early this year, which is just a real shame, because they were a really cool company in some major departments. And also a shit company in other departments. So in that case, I am making this review as a dedication and as a tribute to THQ. Anyway, while THQ got the rights for the Western releases of the game, they released it in the US as Bravo Air Race. However, THQ decided to remove the Bravo from the title for the game's PAL release, and instead, they released it simply as
Air Race.
But it was actually originally advertised in a French magazine as Bravo Air Race, but for some stupid reason, THQ just released it in PAL as Air Race, which in my opinion is just the stupidest gimmick ever, as they wanted it to be a lot more obscure than it is. The reason why THQ decided to release Bravo Air Race just simply as Air Race in PAL, no one knows. I actually wonder what it really has to do with Bravo. If anyone knows about Bravo, then let me know. But before I ever knew it was released in PAL, I originally thought that it was only released in NTSC, as I first saw some screenshots and even the box of the game on the internet. Yet, I somehow discovered the game at Andre a year ago for €5 and decided to buy the game to see if it's any good. And that's what we are also going to find out if it is. So let's pop this game into my almost faulty PS1 and take a look at it. So the game opens with a sweet montage of planes racing against each other, and also adding some real life footage of planes taking off and flying in the air, as well as getting repaired. Just for filler. This really makes you think this game is going to be so cool, right? Well, not really. The main menu has single race for either 1 or 2 players and a time trial mode tossed in. And time trial is pretty self-explanatory. If you have played a couple of racing games before, both arcade and simulation wise, you'll probably know what time trial actually is. So the first thing you'll notice once you first fire up the game is that the game only has 4 tracks grand total in this game, which sounds really lacking. Even way more so than the original Ridge Racer. Each of the 4 tracks found here are all difficulty based. You have Mountain, South City, Snowland, and Canyon. The game does have 10 different aircraft from the World War II era to choose from, each with their own distinct flight characteristics. There are also 2 hidden aircraft in the game too, but these have to be unlocked, but I'll tell you that shortly. The 2 unlockable aircraft are modern ones, such as an F-16 fighter jet and of course a stealth fighter, which is also seen on the front cover of the game but only on the PAL version. These planes are a lot more faster and a lot more difficult to handle, apart from the default 10 planes featured in the game. So here's how you unlock the 2 craft. Number 1. Enter this cheat code. Or number 2. Be first on all 4 tracks with the same plane you've chosen. Then you have to be first on any track with 9 other planes. That's about it. So with only 4 tracks, 10 default aircraft and only 2 unlockable craft, it really makes it feel like a game that could have been released very late in the PlayStation 1's life, either as a Midas or Phoenix game. Yet it came out in 1997, and there are other racing games from 1997 that offered a lot more content than this. Gran Turismo, TOCA Touring Car Championship, aka TOCA Championship Racing in America, and Formula 1 97, aka Formula 1 Championship Edition in the US, are being one of them. So now let's start the race like this.
3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah, this is how races in other games started like this.
3, 2, 1, go!
3, 2, 1, go!
So the game itself is basically Ridge Racer in the air, because you do have a time limit on the top of the screen, and you can add more time by either passing through checkpoints or collect a yellow ball with a blue T on it. And once the time reaches 0, it's game over and you'll instantly lose the race. There are 11 opponents on each of the 4 tracks in the game, and you have to come in first in all of the 4 tracks within 3 laps to get a montage of your chosen craft, as well as view the credits with the people who worked on this game. That's pretty much all you do for the rough 30 minutes that will take you to beat this game. And the 4 tracks all take place in the air, so for most of the race you cannot leave the track because it will show caution if you're on the ground or too high. Otherwise it will give you this message.
Force out!
And not to make you fly off the course, the creators of the game also built in a flying assist mode, which are represented with AT and MT at the plane select screen. AT turns the assist on, while MT turns them off completely. During the race, you will see this line of blue balls giving you navigation through the 4 tracks. And if you have mastered the tracks long enough, and if they become a huge annoyance, you can simply pause the game and turn guide off. However, it will completely turn back on once you hit the next track or start the entire track all over again. And this option is not even featured in the options menu, which is really stupid. So if you don't want to have those blue balls giving you navigation, you have to constantly pause the game and turn guide off every time you start a new race, which is really tedious as hell. And while racing in the air, you will also come across 3 different items that will give you a speed boost, make you slow down, and add some more time, as already mentioned earlier. The controls in the game aren't really as bad as I actually expected them to be, yet each craft do have their own handling characteristics, which means some craft handle well, and some handle like complete shit, like the 2 modern craft. Steering around corners can be a bit of a hustle sometimes, especially when you're going at high speeds when you need to slow down. Sure, the controls take a while of getting used to it, but other than that, the controls for the most part are pretty tight and responsive. You also have a cockpit view which looks quite nice, but the problem is that it makes your aircraft to steer a little more weirder, as steering your craft in cockpit view takes a lot more time to get used to than in your default third-person view. You can also perform barrel rolls by pressing either L1, L2, R1 or R2 on your controller, but that's completely pointless as it doesn't really serve any purpose whatsoever, so you can just basically forget them and race on. And plus, you will have absolutely no control over your craft once you barrel roll, because you're likely going to crash into a wall, explode, respawn, and also waste time. Even though the controls aren't really bad, it actually becomes pretty boring to play after you win on all 4 tracks, as the opponent AI is severely lacking, which makes this game just too easy, as you are much faster than the AI regardless of what craft you choose. And the only real way to lose is to crash into walls and lose time. So once you win a race, you will watch a replay moment from the final lap, which the replays actually look really cool, although not as cool as Gran Turismo, but still quite cool, especially with some chilly music playing for the replays. I can even imagine this music should play during the replays in Gran Turismo as well. The graphics in the game look pretty decent enough, yet not the best. The aircrafts themselves look tolerable, and even the tracks are designed pretty well. And as for the sound, it's actually pretty okay. The engine sounds of the planes sound decent enough, and the music is actually quite enjoyable, I suppose. Each track does have its own original theme music, and there is this one theme music from South City that makes you think it's a ripoff of either Ridge Racer or the original Destruction Derby. Take a listen. I think that's pretty much all there is to say about it, so let's take a look at what we have seen so far. We have pretty enjoyable music, decent controls, decent graphics, and some decent sound. And then we have severe lack of content, only 4 tracks, and 2 unlockable craft, low difficulty curve, useless cockpit view that worsens the controls, and pretty low replay value. With all those things, I will give it a 6 out of 10. So with that said, it's going to leave me 2 decisions. Either I would take it off my shelf, wrap it around in a bubble envelope and put it into an envelope and sell it on eBay, or just put it into the trade box to make it open for trades, or I would just keep it for huge reasons. And that of course being the South City track taking me back to the days of Auto Destruct and the original GTA, and the Canyon track taking me back to the days when I was playing Road Rash 3D and Lucky Luke on the PS1 back in '98. Kinda like the same thing with GT64 Championship Edition on the N64, which the music in the game, including the intro theme and the USA circuit, somehow take me back to the days when I was playing demos of Auto Destruct and Newman Haas Racing on Euro Demo 598 when I was still little. So this game somehow has a lot of nostalgia for me, even though I actually never really knew about the game back when it came out in late '97. If you actually love this game so much, and if you even used to play this game so many years back, you are now wondering if there is a sequel made to this game, which you probably think there is none, sadly. But guess what? There is a sequel made for this game, which is called EUR Championship. But unfortunately, and sadly, it was only released in Japan, which really sucks. If I do happen to find this game at my upcoming retro convention, which is going to be in Oberhausen this May on the 11th of May, then I'll check it out, if I can actually get it for the cheapest prices possible, and maybe I'll do a review on that one too. So that was my review of Bravo Air Race for the PS1. I'm Razorblade1812. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in my next review.